Okay, Algebra 2, tomorrow in class you're going to be working on this Simplifying Radicals worksheet. So don't worry about having it all finished until you get done with the class. If you want to work on some of them to get a head start, that's great, but you don't have to have the whole thing finished when you walk into the class. Just when you get done with the period, you should have it done and ready to turn in. So, for instance, I see on question 1, it says, what's the square root of 32? Keep in mind your list of perfect squares. And you want to find the largest value that goes into 32. And so once we decide that it's 16, then we're going to break this apart into 16 with 2 left over. And then we simplify our perfect squares, and we leave our leftovers. So right there is what we call the leftovers. Okay? But we simplified the perfect square. So 4 radical 2 is your answer for question 1. You have different questions that involve multiplication, such as question 2, radical 22 times radical 8. Okay? We can put those two things together, right? Giving me radical, what do we got there? 176, am I right about that? 160 and 16, 176. Okay? Now we want to think about the largest perfect square which goes into that, and what are the leftovers. So, let's think about what kind of perfect squares. I believe 16 goes in. 16 goes in 11 times, right? So we can split that up to 16 and 11, and then simplify the part that will and the other part that won't, just is left alone. That's why we call it the leftovers, or that's why I call it the leftovers. You will have questions like question 6, where you have 2 over radical 6. Right there is something where we talk about rationalizing the denominator. And so you will want to multiply by the square root of 6. The denominator, we want to turn it into a rational number instead of being a radical. And so when we can do that, we're going to multiply radical 6 over radical 6 is the number 1. In other words, I'm taking the denominator and multiplying top and bottom by that. In the top, I'll have 2 radical 6. And radical 6 times radical 6 is radical 36. But we know what radical 36 is. That's the whole number 6. If you can do any reducing at this point, I would. I see that these things will reduce. Don't try to reduce anything inside the radical. That's definitely not going to happen. So 2 goes into 6 3 times. And there's your final answer for question 6. If you can reduce them, such as on question 12, when you have the radical 96 over radical 12, keep in mind, before you rationalize it, see if you can reduce it. Does 12 go into 96? Sure, 8 times, right? So then you can simplify to there, and then that's a much easier problem for you to split apart into the square root of 4 with 2 left over. So 2 radical 2 is your answer, but I didn't notice that right away. Simplifying the radical really helped me. So practice those questions in class. Work with each other in your groups. Yes, get your desks together so you can do that together.